Friends on YouTube, this story is about a woman named Johana was very resentful toward her ex-boyfriend after the breakup. She went to seek a powerful witch in northern Mexico, and upon finding her, she asked her to cast a spell against her ex-boyfriend David. Please support us by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. She regrets practicing witchcraft against her ex-boyfriend. The dust of the Chihuahuan desert swirled in violent eddies around Johana's heels as she climbed the jagged incline toward a shack that seemed held together only by prayer and dried mud. Her heart was a cold stone in her chest, heavy with a resentment that had curdled into something lethal. David had moved on, his laughter echoing in social media posts with a woman who wasn't her, while Johana felt her own life had become a hollow shell. She didn't just want him back. She wanted him to feel the tectonic shift of a world collapsing. When she reached the summit, the air grew unnaturally still. Sitting on a low stool was a woman whose skin looked like cured leather, her eyes two milky orbs that seemed to see through the physical world. This was the Bruja of the North. Before Johana could utter a word, the old woman spat into the dirt. "Go home, child," the witch rasped. "The poison you carry will only dissolve the vessel that holds it," Johana begged, offering a thick envelope of cash, describing David's betrayal with a voice cracked by bile. The witch stood, her presence suddenly towering despite her slight frame. "I weave protection, and I heal the spirit. I do not tear down what the universe has built. Leave this mountain before the shadows find you." Johana retreated, but as she descended the path, a hand reached out from behind a jagged rock, pulling her into the shade. It was a younger woman, perhaps 20, with the same sharp eyes as the witch, but a mouth curved by greed. This was Elara, the daughter. "My mother is old and fearful," Elara whispered, her eyes locked on the envelope. "But I know the ancient songs. I know how to unmake a man." In the dim light of a hidden cave, the transaction was made. Money exchanged for a ritual of salt, bone, and a lock of David's hair that Johana had kept like a morbid relic. Elara burned the hair over a flame that turned a sickening shade of violet, chanting words that made the very air in the cave feel heavy and metallic. "It is done," Elara hissed. "The rot begins tonight." The first few weeks were a dark triumph for Johana. She watched from the periphery of David's life as the vibrance drained from him. He lost a high-stakes contract at his former job he had spent a decade building. Then came the physical decay. In the photos she saw, he looked skeletal, his skin graying, his eyes haunted by a fatigue that sleep couldn't touch. He tripped over flat surfaces. He lost his breath walking to his car. Johana felt a surge of power, a sick sense of justice served. But the high was short-lived. One night, she dreamt of a shadow sitting on David's chest, and when the shadow turned, it had her own face. The realization of what she had unleashed began to gnaw at her. She saw David at a grocery store, struggling to hold a single bag of fruit, his hands trembling so violently he dropped them. The look of utter defeat in his eyes broke the dam of her resentment. Guilt, sharp and agonizing, replaced the hate. She didn't want him dead. She just wanted him to hurt, that this was a slow erasure of a human soul. Panic-stricken, she drove back to the northern mountains, the engine of her car screaming as she pushed it up the rocky terrain. She found the shack, but it was silent. She screamed for Elara, demanding the spell be reversed, offering double the money. Suddenly, the door creaked open. It wasn't the daughter who stood there, but the old Bruja. The old woman looked at Johana with a profound, terrifying pity. "My daughter is gone," the witch said, her voice like grinding stones. "She fled with your gold the moment she realized the weight of the darkness she invited. You cannot pay a shadow to leave once you've invited it for dinner." Johana fell to her knees, sobbing, begging for a way to save David. The Bruja stepped forward, the wind whipping her gray hair into a frenzy. "Balance is the only law of the desert," the witch declared. "Energy cannot be destroyed, only moved. To pull the rot out of him, it must find a new home. It must return to the source. Are you prepared to take back the gift you sent him?" Johana, blinded by tears and the crushing weight of her conscience, nodded desperately. "Anything, just let him love." The shift was instantaneous. As the witch laid a hand on Johana's forehead, a coldness swirled through Johana's veins, smelling of damp earth and old copper. The transition was violent to mental and physical whiplash. Within days, the reports reached her. David's health had miraculously rebounded. He was back at work, his energy restored as if he'd woken from a long coma. But for Johana, the sun had gone dim. The luck she had enjoyed turned into a series of inexplicable disasters. Her bank account was frozen due to a clerical error that couldn't be resolved. A leak in her apartment destroyed her belongings, and when she arrived at work, she was told her position had been restructured out of existence. But the physical toll was the worst. Her hair began to thin, and a persistent, hacking cough took root in her lungs. Every morning, she woke up with bruises on her limbs, as if she had been fighting an invisible assailant in her sleep. She was now the ghost she had tried to make of him. She sat in her darkened apartment, listening to the silence, knowing that the price of her malice was her own life. She had sought to break David, but in the end, the spell had only ever been a mirror, waiting for her to look into it long enough to see her own destruction.